The 12-19 Red Sox fall to the Blue Jays 8-1. The offense couldn't come through with a big hit, and Brayan Bello sucked again, failing to get out of the fourth inning. Tonight, I'm joined by James and Will as we break down everything that's gone wrong. And even after another pathetic series loss, there's still plenty to talk about with this team. Guys, I know it's tough to talk about this team over and over again, but how are we doing today?
Could be better. Could be better. The highlight of my notes tonight, I thought it read, no offense, Bello sucked, but it actually reads, no offense, comma, Bello sucked. So the sky's blue. You know, that's exactly what we thought was going to happen, but we need to have a serious conversation as to what happens with Bello moving forward.
Yeah, he's a liability out there. You know, once again, was not happy today, kept shaking his head when Tracy was coming out to get him. And after the game, he kind of cited that he felt he still should have been in there. I'm not really sure why he felt he still should have been in there given his performance, but it's just an overall mess right now. And obviously the offense is not doing much. Bello, as we talked about last night, has been a liability all season, and the trains continue to fall off the tracks.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Brayan Bello for a majority of the show. It was awful today, and I think his comments after the game were kind of annoying. Just listening to him, I know you have a manager in his first week of managing in the major leagues, and it's a very weird situation. But he took you out of the game because you sucked, not because you just because he sucks. Like, this isn't on the manager. This is on you not performing week after week after start after start. You need to figure something out. You're not a rookie anymore. This is your fifth year in the major leagues. You got paid. You didn't deserve to get paid, honestly, in my mind. There are people that think about that differently, but you haven't proven anything besides maybe 18 to 20 starts last year that were very good. And besides that, it was very bad in his career. I'm not sold on Brayan Bello. I think this is probably the last time we see him for a very long time. And if it wasn't for Garrett Crochet's injury that we've learned about today, I would say a definite we don't see him until later on this season.
That's the tough part. Between Crochet and Sonny Gray, it's like we essentially almost need him in this rotation as of right now for the next go around. But I'm with you. And there's nothing that he has done this year or even last year that has really solidified his starting role.
No, and I think a bunch of people worried last year that last year might be his ceiling, and it's certainly on the trajectory that it is right now. Looks like it is overall. It's just it's a lack of command. It's really a lack of everything. You know, just not. I don't know how to describe it. There's no command. There's no control. The stuff just is not like nasty or biting. It's just kind of flat. Like, I don't know if he doesn't believe in the pitching plan or whatever the Sox have for him, but. Yeah, he is, going back from his career has been a roller coaster since he got called up in the summer of 22. And that continued today. It's continued this season, and it's not looking good. You know, obviously the team isn't going anywhere this year. So maybe they'll give him a little bit more runway because of that. But he certainly wouldn't fit in on a contender. That's for sure.
The only sort of consistency he's had this season, he's been consistently bad. All of his starts have been very weird. Tonight or this afternoon, he only had one swing and a miss. Early on in the season, he was having 17, 18 swings and misses, but he was still getting rocked. He has no consistency. It feels like every time he goes out to pitch, he's trying a different strategy, and everything he tries doesn't work. We thought pound the zone with the sinkers, try to get ground ball outs. He was kind of doing that, and he's still getting rocked. This guy has nothing going for him. He needs a trip to the minor leagues. He needs a phantom IL, or he needs off the roster, because you can't keep trotting him out there because it's an auto loss like we brought up last night. It sucks. I don't like his comments today because I want to talk about that next. You're kind of basically showing up your first week manager, in my mind, saying that I deserve to be out there. I shouldn't have been pulled. In my mind, it felt like, what is this guy doing pulling me? I'm Brayan Bello. Brayan Bello, you suck. Who are you?
He hasn't proven anything yet. It's like he's doing that. I did like his one comment after the game. Someone asked, were you shaking your head no at Tracy's decision to take you out, or at your performance to not, make your case to last long in the game? And he put the blame on himself. So I take his post-game comments 50-50. He realizes he sucks. He does. It's not him reading the other side of the book here. The one thing that, if we're talking about his reaction, the one thing that I really got pissed off at was his reaction watching Weissert give up the earned runs on
Bello. He slammed his fist on the
he's slammed his fist on the dugout. Yeah. If you feel like that, go into the tunnel and take out your aggression there. Don't do it when the cameras are on you and all eyes are on you.
Yeah, don't care. Just don't show up a teammate publicly, because part of the reason he was trying to clean up your mess. Obviously, he didn't. The full quote from Bello in the reaction that you were talking about, Will, was, I'm a little bit frustrated because I do really work very hard between starts to pitch well on my start days, and it seems like they can hit me easily. But the good thing is I get back to work tomorrow and can focus on the next start. And then Chad Tracy added, when he was going to take out Bello, most pitchers I know don't like to come out in the fourth inning. He doesn't want to come out of the game, and I expect that from a pitcher. Unfortunately for Bello, I don't know if he'll be making his next start. He might, just because of the health right now. Obviously, we'll touch on Crochet heading to the injured list with shoulder inflammation. Sonny Gray still on the IL, so he might make it by virtue of needing bodies. But it's probably not long until he gets a phantom IL trip or a trip down to Worcester with 2 options left to really work on things.
We got 2 comments that are kind of polar opposites of each other here. Looks like a spot where they look for Taijuan Walker, who was dropped by the Phillies. That's a no-go for me. Right now, the only guy worse than Brayan Bello is Taijuan Walker. I know he would be free. Basically, he was DFA'd. The Phillies still owe him a lot of money. The Phillies are just as dysfunctional as the Red Sox right now, and I don't want anyone from that organization at the moment. So that's a no-go on me. The next question here, I'm going to just switch. I'll let you give your thoughts on that after that. But do the Red Sox start calling up minor league players from their farm to bring some youth to the team, to fast track players in the major leagues? Basically, I don't think they fast track anybody. This is not a team where Franklin Arias is going to be fast tracked. You might get guys like Bennett, who we didn't expect to be in the major leagues in April, coming up because of necessity. But yes, we finally made a roster move for the first time today besides a relief pitcher. Like, this is the first time we brought up a position player, and Nate Eaton, who we actually kind of need, a guy who can actually hit lefties instead of IKF, who all he hits is like 68 mile per hour exit velocity bloopers. Those are his only hits.
Yeah, my first thought on this comment, and I don't want to touch Taijuan Walker with a 10-foot pole. I know that he's a veteran with experience, but he obviously has not been good this year, and I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze there. To this question, there's nobody in the system to fast track. Anyone that's good is a mile away. You like if you want to go look at the Sox prospect rankings, I'm going to pull them up right now. I don't think Campbell obviously isn't a prospect, but if you look at anyone that's worth anything,
they're already here.
Correct, they're here or they're a mile away. Like Witherspoon down in Greenville, Arias just got promoted to Portland, Iverson down in Greenville, Phillips in Greenville, Gonzalez in Greenville. Jake Bennett will be up here tomorrow, but it's like Godbout in Greenville. Romero is in Worcester, but he's not a game changer. Like, he might. I
guess your only guys you could see an impact from. I think Mikey Romero could make an impact pretty soon. Maybe Noah Song way down the road, but it's like there's not many guys that are gonna make an impact. Franklin Arias would be like September. You know how like Rafaela got called up. And I don't even see that unless he goes on an absolute tear. Rafael got caught up with like 2 weeks left in September. It would have to be a terrible season for the Red Sox, like 60 wins, and he goes on a tear.
No, I think with Arias, you keep him in Portland until the rest of the year, and you start him in Worcester next year. You let him develop. There's no reason to fast track his development. He should get at least 300 to 400 at bats in Portland at minimum. I see the comment there. I didn't say I wanted him being Walker, just saying Breslow will probably check in on him. Yeah, he might, because he probably wants able-bodied arms. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they try to navigate that.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I do think Breslow will try almost anything because I feel like he is on his final straw. If this season doesn't turn around, I think he will be on the hot seat. If it's not by the end of the season, next year will be his last and final straw. Obviously, there is a looming lockout, so we don't know how that will affect anything. Do the Red Sox want to go into a lockout with nobody on the books? Like, maybe they want to fire everybody and just clean house and wait until 2028 if that's what they think is going to happen. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could think about, but I do think Breslow will be aggressive on anything because he is aware that his job security is running out.
I don't know. The more losses like tonight and that we've been seeing throughout the month of April, the more months that we have where we accrue 15, 16, 17 losses, we're going to see more of these younger guys. Whether I'm in the same boat. We're not going to fast track anyone, but the more and more of those younger bullpen arms we're going to see called up. I would love to see Mikey Romero up. Franklin Arias, I'm kind of with you too. Leave him in AA. Don't fast track anyone, but I would rather see that. And I do believe we'll see more of that than making any kind of external moves to bring in anyone else. Definitely not Walker, but but from the outside in.
Yeah, I mean, Breslow is going to try to operate like we're still here to win. I think most Red Sox fans know that there's not going to be a whole lot of winning this year. I want to pull up the exact tweet from Jared Carrabis because I think he kind of summed it up. Not just how a lot of us are, not just how we're feeling, but how everyone is feeling. He said, "I can't believe I have to watch this team for 5 more months. This is the earliest the season has been objectively over in my lifetime. Pathetic, pathetic team." I don't know if there's a Red Sox team like prior to this one that the season has been over in April. I don't know if you guys felt differently, maybe about 22, maybe about the start they got off to in 19, maybe some other years. But I think he's right. Like this is the earliest the season has objectively like been over per se. There's just there's no thump. It's lifeless. You fired the manager and 6 other coaches. Like stuff to come back from.
Even the Bobby Valentine year too. I believe we started like 11-11 or something like that too, like 500-ish.
And they were like 3 games under 500 in the middle of July.
2012, they went
that season went off the rails, but not until much later.
14 was worse in my mind. Like the whole
But
season.
was it over at this point in the season? I don't think it was.
Well, so Nesson flashed up the fact after the game, 19 losses before May ties the Red Sox all-time record with their 1996 season. So only twice have we lost 19 games before May.
Yeah, but we also had like 4 losses in March.
Sure. But still, regardless of what it is, April is still early season, and when you're tying your club record for losses, sure,
you could
4
have
games
20
more
losses before May.
You can absolutely, especially given our calendar and the newer schedule recently. But it's just never a thing you want to be competing with yourself on.
So we're 31 games into this, right? 12-19. In 2014, the Red Sox were 15-16.
I put out a tweet earlier today about Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. Just one second. Let me pull it up. This was earlier before today's game. I know Marcelo Meyer got a hit and Roman got a hit today, but just one moment here. Just if you told me this at the beginning of the season, Marcelo Meyer's OPS is .687, which is higher than Roman Anthony's 642, 30 games into the season. You talk about 10, 15 games. That's a short sample size, but now we're getting into 30 games. Marcelo Meyer is outperforming Roman Anthony, and it's starting to become kind of significant. They have the same amount of home runs. Right now, Marcelo Meyer is giving you better at bats. It's just this is not what you expected out of your $130 million. We crowned him a superstar basically last year, and I still believe he's going to be a star, but it's starting to become concerning, and I think he's a big reason why this coaching staff was fired.
Yeah,
if he's a miss, then this whole organization set back for like 8 years.
Yeah, I think that Roman obviously has the mechanics and all the underlying tools, and just hasn't been unlocked like every other sports writer has written about so far. But again, the fact that Meyer is outperforming Roman in almost every offensive statistic, and yet he doesn't start every day, is ridiculous. Even today, he extended his 7-game hitting streak into 8 games today off the bench for IKF. When are we going to start seeing him start against left-handed starters? When are we going to see that happen?
Tracy said it would come more. It would, come more. So we'll see. But overall, like I think that this last, 20 game stretch has been pretty brutal for Roman. It's been a brutal watch. Whether it's in the field with the throwing mechanics or at the plate. He's got, I think we all think he's going to snap out of it and be the guy we expect him to be. But yeah, he's got to be better. Obviously. If this team had any aspirations of going anywhere, they would need him to be better. But overall, he's got to continue to be better. I don't know if the coaching staff getting fired necessarily a reflection on him per se, just because of what they helped him with last year. I saw a couple things on Twitter today. I know there's a lot of different hitting guys out there per se. But the muscle he was holding the bat with, it was a different hand muscle. And that's something like so small, but I've seen that person, and I wish I could find it. I'll try to find it after I finish my point here. But that person has said, once guys get to the majors with the Red Sox, they hold the bat essentially with a different muscle of the hand. Okay, I found it. It's Prehension Athletics, Tommy M8 on Twitter. He is okay, I'm definitely going to mispronounce this. He's using his interossi muscles for most of last season. This season, he is holding the bat with his flexor digitorum, super phalangeus muscles. I can't pronounce that. Sorry about that. But that he has it still shot up, and it's like, and honestly, when you see it, you can see the difference. His index finger is a little bit more up. But I don't know. That was something that he pointed out. I know folks have pointed out, Campbell was using different muscles once he got up to the majors. And I don't know if it was necessarily the staff teaching them to do that. Maybe it was just old habits dying hard, but small stuff like that doesn't go unnoticed, I guess.
Sox don't have a guy on staff that can fix that. Like, maybe it's not a baseball guy. Maybe it's a doctor or a,
well,
maybe,
I don't know
who does that.
I don't know if Driveline employs people like that. So
it's the Boston Red Sox. You should have an employee that does everything, like that's how
Sure.
it should be, but it's not.
Sure.
At the very least, have your social media coordinators see that tweet and then run that down to someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think, Roman just got to continue to develop, and like he still hasn't played 100 major league games yet. Like, he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I'm hoping that with Tracy up here and with the season getting off to a poor start, he can just relax. All right, maybe we don't have the expectations of going to win a World Series. I know on Sunday he said that's still their expectation. Like the guys in the locker room should believe that, but just go out there, be yourself, be Roman Anthony, and take it from there.
Yeah. What do you guys want to get into next? Crochet, or do you want to get into the Bregman story?
I think Crochet. Yeah.
Crochet. So today, Crochet, we'll start off. We get the tweets about Nate Eaton's coming up to the major leagues. Very surprising. A position player. So we all expected maybe the Marcelo Meyer slide into his wrist or pinky. I think it came out, it was actually pinky. He might have been going on the IL, or, maybe it was someone else. Roman Anthony came into my mind because of the back. It was anybody. We didn't really know. We didn't have an answer. And then we get dropped that Garrett Crochet is going on the IL for shoulder inflammation. Obviously, Crochet has looked bad a few starts ago, but he came out last time and dominated 6 shutout innings. He had a great bounce back start. So it wasn't something we were expecting. Hopefully, and it's only a few starts that he misses. It's the 15 days. Crochet seems optimistic about it, at least so far, but you never know with the Red Sox and their track record about lying, about injuries and that kind of stuff. So it's a surprising Garrett Crochet injury. And if without Garrett Crochet, if the Red Sox have no chance without Garrett Crochet, basically. We already think they have no chance, but without Garrett Crochet, there's zero.
Yeah, that kind of was a wake-up call to, oh, wow, is Connolly Early really our number one if Crochet's out for a significant amount of time? Or, obviously Ranger 2 is in that conversation. Obviously, this also is scary, too. He had a similar injury with the White Sox back in 2023, I believe it was. Yeah. Yep. And then in the rehab, he had a setback, and he ended up missing a large chunk of the season, more than just a 15-day IL stint. But his comments to the media today pregame about being sent to the IL was super reassuring in terms of it being just a minor thing and not anything crazy to worry about. He kind of underplayed it a little bit, which I think is for the better, whether that was accurate or not. I just had to hear that.
Yeah, he said he is I'm pretty confident in this moment that I'll be back in the rotation in 2 weeks. And then he also added, just some fatigue I was feeling in my last start, was able to grind through it there at the end. It just makes more sense to get ahead of it now, so I'm not playing catch up the rest of the season. He also added, it's tough. Talked to Brez and Brandon, who's Brandon Henry, the head athletic trainer, yesterday about trying to push through, and ultimately, what good is that doing for the team if I'm just kicking the can down the road? And Chris Smith also added that according to a source, Crochet's shoulder discomfort is said to be trending in a better direction on a daily basis. And I think the big thing to add with that IL stint with the White Sox in 2023 was that he did receive a cortisone shot for that trip to the IL and then suffered a setback. It doesn't seem like he'll need a cortisone shot here. So hopefully it's just the minimum, maybe a few more. But again, with the state of the team and the way things are going right now, it's not worth pushing him. It's not worth him pushing through. You might as well just, IL and make sure that he is A-okay, because, going forward, nothing can happen to him. But obviously without Crochet, the team's not going anywhere. So.
We talked about the replacement options very, very, very briefly. We all kind of agree that it's going to be Jake Bennett. I guess the only other options would be Eduardo Rivera and then Jack Anderson, who has also been up here for a brief stint. We kind of agree that it'll be Jake Bennett, but I'm intrigued to see him, but I didn't think we'd be seeing him this early. Just what are your thoughts on him? I mean, he impressed me in spring training when I was down there, but this is not the guy you didn't want to tap into your 10th, 11th available arm in April. It's just a disappointing way to start the year.
More and more of these injuries like Sale, it just allows Bello to kind of get away with his performances like today, which is obviously very scary to think about. But again, Jake Bennett was, I believe, my number 1 or number 2 pick preseason of impact call-ups for the Sox this season. Granted, not in April, or I guess, it'll be May 1st with the Astros series, but I'm really excited from him. Lefty, really good stuff. Sub 1 ERA so far in AAA. Small sample size, obviously, with the season just starting, but I'm super pumped to see him for however long he is with the major league squad.
I think the biggest thing with Bennett is that we all kind of said he would make an impact, in March when we did our first preview show from the Spot On. It's somebody that wasn't on the 40-man roster. And I think it is interesting that we did get him from the Nationals. Obviously Taboni, was able to get Perales back, I believe, in that trade for Bennett. So we'll see what ends up happening. Obviously, would like to see him make an impact. Sox prospect has him ranked as the 10th best prospect in the organization. Excited for him. Unfortunately, it comes at the heels of Crochet being out, but let's see what he can do against Houston.
This is a funny comment just because it's a guy we gave away. But Brayan Bello to Seattle for Cooper Criswell. Do it, Craig. I dare you. Cooper Criswell is a lot better option than what we have right now in Brayan Bello. And Cooper Criswell was basically here for $1 million. So Brayan Bello, just an example of a bad extension. That, what Cora was talking about, these guys, once they're extended, the money hits differently. That's the one they're talking about. It's Brayan Bello.
Another example of in the offseason, you got some trade interest and wanting to hold on to him and just being absolute backfire like Duran. But only difference is that we're still waiting for Bello's 2024 Duran breakout season.
Yeah. And speaking of trades to Seattle, I know Section 10 has floated it, other people have floated it. Probably could have had Luis Castillo if David Hamilton was in the trade, or Tristan Casas, or whatever it may be. So yeah, Craig, why not go get Cooper Criswell? Would Seattle even want him? Probably not, but you might as well make the call. And they'd probably turn Bello into having like a 1.72 ERA, knowing their pitching lab.
It's probably the only place he would be good.
There or Tampa. If Seattle. Tampa calls.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with just sending him to the minor leagues. It's probably what they're going to do, or a Phantom IL. Or, I kind of said maybe they kind of just get rid of Watson and go Bello in that role. I don't see him really being okay with that, especially after the comments today. Like, he's about to be demoted, and he's complaining about being taken out of the game. Do you think he accepts that kind of role? I know people in the past have been – Nick Pivetta is one of them. Walker Buehler is one of them that haven't been very, very happy about going back to a bullpen role or a bulk guy. But Brayan Bello, you're getting paid $10 million almost. Like, do whatever you're said, like told. So do you think that's an option?
Absolutely. He's turning into a bullpen liability as a starter. He's only made it out of the 5th inning once all season, and that was his dominant performance against, I believe it was the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And that was now looking like a needle in a haystack, right? You can't throw a starter out there that goes 3, maybe 4 innings and then go straight to the bullpen. That's a lot asking of the bullpen. Good thing we have an off day tomorrow, but we can't bank on there being an off day after every Bello start. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Move him to the bullpen, see what happens.
His innings pitched this year: 3 1/3 against Milwaukee, 6 2/3 against St. Louis, 4 against Detroit, 3 1/3 against the Orioles last Friday, and then 3 2/3 today. So
Nesson put up a graphic today. It was like number of pitchers that haven't, or number of times that pitchers haven't got out of the 4th inning or something like that. And the other two guys
I have that up.
Were in the minor leagues now. Like Grant Taylor was demoted at one point, and the other guy, I don't remember who it was, I think was also demoted at one point. So
it's PJ Poland with the Nationals.
Nationals.
Yep.
They are widely known of having like one of the worst pitching staffs in a very long time. So like this is just a
I'm pretty
bad,
sure they also
bad
used PJ
territory to
Coleman
be
like
in.
as a designed opener too.
That I believe I recall. Yeah.
Which makes it worse for us.
Completely.
So he's in the same category as a demoted player and an opener. It's bad territory to be in. He shouldn't still be getting the ball for the Boston Red Sox. But with the Garrett Crochet injury, I see him pitching at least one more time, unfortunately.
It sucks. Losing Crochet is one thing, and missing his start every 5-6 games, whatever, is one thing. But then the trickle down effect of what that means for our dependency on Bello and the rest of our bullpen and everything else almost makes it just worse than just losing Crochet every
It
5
makes
games.
it even worse because they catered to Bello. They gave him a day, like another day's rest. They missed him. They wanted to take him away from the Yankees. They pushed him back to the Orioles so the Yankees wouldn't see him. And then he gets crushed by the Orioles. And then he goes to Toronto. He didn't get crushed, but he still sucked. He just does nothing well for you. And I want him gone. They're not fun to watch. If you're 12-19, you at least should have something fun to watch.
Yeah, well, if you're 12-19, you're probably not watching anything fun because the team is so terrible. I get what you're saying, but it's like it's not like we're 19-12. I mean, I think I think a lot of the fan base has turned on Bello, unfortunately for him. Like I think a lot of them were holding out hope that he would take the step forward this year, and he's just done the complete opposite of that. I think also he was overhyped by a decent amount of the fan base because we haven't developed a pitcher since John Lester, Clay Buckles, back in 07, 08. So it was like, all right, we finally have somebody homegrown. And unfortunately, he just hasn't lived up to the hype. Obviously, got the contract, so he's financially secure. But it's one of those things where, all right, maybe you give him one more start against Kansas City next Tuesday, where that would be a scheduled day, and see if it works. But if not, yikes! Because it really can't get much worse than what it is right now. Like I think going down to the minors and working on whatever he needs to work on in Worcester would behoove his career.
Yeah, I hope it's the end of him, at least for the time being, but we'll see. You guys, James, you talked about the Bregman comments. You have a lot of strong feelings about it. I think we should get into it because I think it's important,
It's my
especially with
favorite
how
topic.
the season's going to go. It's going to even be brought up later on. It's going to be brought up for years to come. He's going to get the Adrian Beltre comparisons when it's said and done, I feel like. So Alex Bregman was in the news again today, of course. So I'll let you lead it off and talk about it first.
Yeah. So Jen McCaffrey came out with a piece this morning in The Athletic, pretty much just citing a lot that was going on with the Sox right now with their coaching changes. She cited that Breslow and the front office kind of pointed at Christian Campbell floundering last year at the major league level after a red hot first month. To the hitting philosophy being stale and not working because their internal metrics had him, projecting to be a stud. They signed him to the 8-year, $60 million contract extension, and then he comes out through the first 2.5 months and just didn't live up to that hype. So that was kind of a contention point. So this is straight from McCaffrey's article. According to multiple people who were in the Red Sox clubhouse in 2025, each granted anonymity for their candor, the disconnect between Breslow and certain members of the coaching staff was well known last season. Breslow would occasionally ask Bregman for feedback, and Bregman became a consistent advocate for Fetzy, Lawson, and Cronin, crediting those hitting instructors for helping him return to an all-star level. According to one player, one version of events that made the rounds was that Breslow was ready to dismiss some of the coaches until, quote, Bregman stepped in last year and stopped the firings, end quote. Other sources stopped short of saying that Bregman saved anyone's job last season, but agreed that his outspoken advocacy for the hitting coaches was well known. I personally believe that Bregman probably did stop those firings because the Red Sox were kind of flailing at one point. I think they were, after the Milwaukee series, I want to say they were 28-34, 28-35. It wasn't looking good. After that Milwaukee series. So maybe that was the contention point. Maybe it was right before that Yankee series in the beginning of June in the Bronx where they took 2 out of 3. I could very well have seen it. And that was obviously before, Bregman got hurt May 23rd against Baltimore. So that would have been right around the time he was still there, still active with the club before he hit the IL and, took a 2-month hiatus. But yeah, like if Bregman was that big of a deal and you clearly thought he had that much influence and, maybe he directly influenced it or not, who's to say except for folks in the clubhouse. But even Kennedy yesterday on radio said that that they probably miscalculated how big of an impact Bregman had. Then why would you let him go? Like that just shows how much of a leader he is, and whether it's leadership in the right, if you believe that's leadership in the right way or not, advocating for coaches to the CBO, fine, but it's like clearly that's a leadership quality. He's going to bat for his guys. The CBO doesn't have to listen to him, so why? Like clearly, I think he did. Why would you not keep him? Like where is the disconnect? And is that why Breslow didn't bring him back? Probably.
Sam Kennedy's full of shit because Sam Kennedy said in spring training if Bregman wanted to be here, he would be here. And then he said we miscalculated how big of an impact he made on this team. Like you knew how big of an impact it was. You're just trying to sweep it under the rug. And now it sucks that he's not here. You traded Devers. You basically let Bregman. You pissed him off. You pissed Bregman off somehow. You did something. You didn't give his no trade clause. You did something else. You know, I'm starting to believe it wasn't even close in the offering, you know, like I don't believe any of the offers that the Red Sox were even a couple $1 million off. At this point, I think they gave him another 3-year deal and said, "Screw you! Like, why'd you even opt out in the first place?" Like, I don't think Breslow even wanted.
I think they gave him an offer. It was like 5/160, but not with the no trade clause. And you know, obviously Bregman came here because of Cora, and I think Breslow probably viewed him as Cora's guy, and Breslow wanted to do it his way. Like that's personally what I think. You know, they were $10 or $15 million short, and obviously without the no trade clause, Bregman was going to go take more money and the no trade clause to play with the Cubs.
Well, Breslow's way sucks. It sucks. Durbin sucks. Breslow sucks. Like his way sucks. If Bregman's here right now, I promise you, we're at least 500. We're at least 500. Alex Cora's still in the dugout. Everyone still has a job,
and
we're still
have another hitting coach.
And guess what? You're probably in second place, like or third place. Like you're not miserable every time you turn on this team. Even if Bregman has the stats he has right now, like a low 700 OPS, a couple of home runs, playing third base, just his presence in the locker room, I promise you, Roman Anthony would be playing better. I promise you, other players would be playing better. It's just horrible miscalculation by this roster, this team. You lost 2 generational third basemen within 6 months. It's just embarrassing how they ran this organization.
And somehow Devers is the worst player in baseball this year.
And he'll bounce back.
Yeah.
He will be the worst player in baseball.
He's not playing at Fenway anymore. There's no big wall that he can hit over, but in left field, my thing about that article today, there's so much to break down, A, but B, it makes me also think in the same boat too. That no trade clause was definitely not the only thing that was they didn't see eye to eye on with Bregman. If they wanted him back, I do think that he would be in a Red Sox uniform this year. But now if we switch positions here and view it from Bregman's side, it's something that I've been preaching on the show all season long. If I'm a veteran, potential free agent coming into next offseason, if there is a season next year, what about this mess of a clubhouse and a mess of a CBO and ownership group? What part of this would attract me to Boston, right? Yeah, Fenway, Boston's a great city, a lot of history, yada, yada, yada. But, you had literally a confirmed report now of a player basically overriding your CBO's move to fire some of the coaching staff last year. That mid-season too. That's crazy. That to me is like, what's going on there?
Well, Breslow didn't have to listen to him. Like that's like right. I completely agree with you, but I'm saying like if people are trying to pin this on Bregman, it's like he can say whatever he wants. The CBO doesn't have to listen to him.
Exactly. But again, if I'm a CBO, I would want my CBO to be confident in their decisions to the point where a player's opinion is not going to really change the direction of the ship here. And again, I am not diminishing Bregman's impact as a player, as a leader, as a voice. He's earned that. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He was a great leader here last year. But for everyone that will just copy and paste a picture of his stats from this year and go, see, this is why we shouldn't have signed him. I don't want to hear any further opinions about free agent signings from those fans. The impact of Bregman goes so far beyond his numbers from last year and then what he's doing this year for the Cubs. It's not even funny. And again, with how young this team is too, someone like Bregman would just elevate the entire squad.
Yeah, because Cora's talked about in spring training. Go ahead, Nick.
It's just his presence in the lineup. If you stick him behind Roman Anthony, he's going to get pitched differently. Roman Anthony's become better. Like, it's just a whole different presence. If you have, just take this lineup, Roman Anthony, Alex Bregman, Wilyer Abreu, and then you have Wilson Contreras, and then you get to like the Jaron Durans, and then you get Story down the lineup, and then the lineup just becomes so much deeper, if you can spread out with one more righty to give your Roman Anthony protection, like this is what he's missing. You can't just keep trotting him out there when he's trying to walk and they're dotting him on the corners and he's I don't know, he's conflicted. He needs protection. He needs that guidance that Bregman gave him. It's just you are running your organization into the ground because you were cheap by $15 million. You wouldn't give a guy a no trade clause, and you probably you didn't think he could get that much money, obviously, but you also probably didn't think he was going to opt out. You probably thought he was $40 million. This guy's not opting out. He was cocky, I feel like, Breslow.
But again, this turmoil and this like inner conflict of who's doing what and who has to say. Why would I? If I'm Bregman, I can get, even comparable money out there in the free agent market, not 40 mil. That's obviously wasn't going to happen. But if I can get comparable, like what's keeping me in Boston, especially now looking back, if I'm Bregman and Cora, one of his closest baseball, whatever you want to call it, connections, friends, teammates, coaches. If he's gone from the Red Sox now too, what else was there in Boston for him, right?
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, the Red Sox probably showed their true colors last offseason with giving Bregman the shorter deal with a higher AAV, like not wanting to pay him long term. Because if for some reason that deal was a bust and he stays here, then it's like, all right, you get out of it after 3 years. I think the biggest thing Cora talked about in spring training, how he was going to need to be more active around the guys, was going to, and not that's bad, but need to be more of an active manager because they were missing that leadership voice. They were missing that veteran presence. And obviously Trevor Story provides it, but Bregman really takes it to another level. And it's like, that's the biggest thing you're missing with Bregman. You're missing that, that guy that can hold other guys accountable, that can keep guys in check, and someone for the young guys to go to. This team is pretty young. There's a lot of guys who haven't played a full season or have only played a couple full seasons. There's not a lot of seasoned veterans on the team, especially from the position player side with what the Sox are trying to build with that nucleus. There's a lot of guys that Bregman could help. They could go to. He served as a pseudo hitting coach. He still would if he was here. It's like that was the missing piece. And I think, like you said, Will, his impact goes far beyond just what he did there. Going to bat for, because you want someone as a player who's in the foxhole with you, who has the coach's backs and, all right, I'm going to die for you guys. Like, this is it. Here we go. And obviously he put a good word in for him last year and it worked. So, they didn't just lose, a leader. They didn't just lose a good player. Like, they lost I don't want to call him an organizational pillar for only being here 1 year, but someone who was very important to the fabric of the organization and the team. And part of their identity last year kind of died when he left.
It just seemed like he should have been a Red Sox for the rest of his career. That's the kind of player he was. It's the kind of that's the kind of guy he meant. Like, that's how he meant to the city. The guys around, the fan base really loved him. But I think at his point of his career, he might have just thought that the Chicago Cubs were a better organization and a better team and put him in a better chance of winning another ring than the Red Sox. Like, if you look at the two rosters, the Cubs are just better at this point. They are. And if the Red Sox in the last 7-8 years have put themselves in a position that they're not looked at as one of the top spending teams out there, or they're not one of the premier organizations in baseball anymore since 2018. The Cubs, these other teams might be looked higher up in like a higher up now. Like back in the day, it used to be the Yankees, the Red Sox, and then now the Dodgers are the top of the top. Now there are like 4 to 8 teams that are probably with more like prestige than the Red Sox at the moment. Like, the Red Sox are not the destination they used to be. Will brought it up about players. How hard do you think it's going to be to find a competent manager with experience next year? It's going to be hard.
With ownership playing their, with their wallet so close to themselves, not willing to open up the checkbook for these players that do deserve it, and managers too. It's like that only makes it tougher. Like, money talks, and if you're not willing to open up your wallet, you better have a damn good team and a damn good environment, and we don't have either.
Yeah. Obviously no manager is going to want to walk into a toxic situation or a situation that ownership or the CBO has so much power over you in terms of like their shadow is looming. They're going to want freedom of a 4 or 5 year deal, be able to, run their program, develop guys the way they want to develop guys, and also bring their own coaches in. And will Breslow let them do that now that he had the mass exodus on the hitting side? Clearly, what else was said in the McCaffrey piece, Breslow wants to do it his way, and he wants his guys in there. And now he's getting his guys in there. We'll see. It's going to be tough. They're going to need to get somebody with a strong voice, somebody who can stand up to players, be a leader, most importantly, stand up to the front office and ownership, which is what Cora did for a bit here. And obviously, that power struggle just ran out at the end. But that's ultimately they're going to need to find their next version of AC.
Who it's going to be. I think it'll be Chad Tracy for the rest of the year, and then we'll go.
Yeah, we got a long way to go until we got those conversations.
But yeah, like you said, guys, it's going to be tough to even get a guy in here. I guess Rocco Baldelli is a name that's been floated, David Ross, but do these guys want to come back and manage this team? I don't know.
I mean, if Baldelli wants a hometown discount kind of deal, maybe. But if I'm an executive with the Dodgers, kind of on track for a GM position, I wouldn't leave. Absolutely not.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense.
We're not going to get a guy from another organization that is in line. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And if you're just a Red Sox legend, they're going to throw your name out there. They've thrown Ortiz's name out there, Euclid, Pedroia.
If you're a Red Sox legend, why would you want to come and do this job after what they just did to Veritek?
Only because of how much you love the organization. That's literally the only.
You're just going to be ripped out and shit out and, thrown to the side.
Offered a new position. Yeah.
It's not, it's nothing really.
It'd be nice if we could somehow get Kevin Cash, former Red Sox. Obviously, that's not happening, but
we're not going to be able to poach a guy from another team. That's not the organization the Red Sox are right now.
Yeah.
Just looking at the next series going forward, there's a lot of TBDs. Do you guys want to give a prediction, or do you want to just wait until later on?
I'll give a prediction. Friday night, good old TBD versus TBD, and then Saturday, Connolly early for the Sox. Sunday, Ranger Suarez. Houston is also off to a similarly bad start, 11-19. But Yordan Alvarez mashes against the Red Sox. I'm going to go with 1 out of 3 this weekend.
I'll go also 1 out of 3. We went on Friday. Jake Bennett pitches a great game if he does.
Oh, you think they lose both early and Suarez? Wow.
I do, only because Friday I'm expecting to be in our Fenway greens. Exactly. Yep. And we don't lose in the greens. That's my only reason why.
What are they 7-5 in the greens?
7-5 with 7 walk-offs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not calling a walk-off. I'm just calling for a win.
Friday night they win on a walk-off, and then they get demolished.
I think they win on Saturday with early.
I'm going to go logically. I think they win early as well. But you never know if they can steal early and a Friday night walk-off. Maybe you can win a series. I doubt it, but you never know.
I think Allegretti is pitching for Houston on Saturday against early, so solid pitching matchup there. Not sure who's going to be going on Friday and Sundays. They haven't. So
we're going to have 3 lefties again, most likely.
Yep.
And Bennett early and Suarez. Even if you just look at Suarez's ERA, it's pretty damn good, man. 3.09. I mean, he had a shaky first few starts, but he's been bounced back and he's looking good. So, realistically, if you look at the pitching matchups, the Red Sox have a very good chance to win this series, especially with the Astros pitching struggles. But I'm still going to go 1 out of 3, unfortunately.
Can you score? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you can't score.
That's the big thing. The Astros are tied for the second worst run differential in Major League Baseball too. Obviously, Phillies are the worst. And then you just have to go out there and just swing the damn bats. Just swing the damn bats. That's what you gotta do. It sounds like a broken record, but man, and I want to see Mayer out there all 3 games. This series in Toronto and even in Baltimore too. He needs to be seeing everyday lineup exposure, and I just won't accept him coming off the bench or any kind of IKF appearance either.
IKF had a single today, but it was a little blooper over that second baseman's head, but whatever. I agree with you. No IKF.
Yeah. I think, my overarching final thought from today, from this series, whatever, is just they squandered so much goodwill that they had built up at the end of last year. They were a bat or 2 away, an arm or 2 away, and maybe you weren't going to accomplish everything this offseason, but you were close. Instead, they went the complete opposite direction. They let Bregman, their de facto clubhouse leader, walk out the door. Just the more articles that come out, like McWilliams is the other day, McCaffrey's today, June Lee's, I think that came out on Sunday. Obviously, Cotillo has been, Cotillo and Chris Smith have been doing great reporting on it for Mass Live. Pete Abraham had a piece, Sean McAdam. Everything that comes out, it's just like they're kind of just a rudderless ship right now. Like there's sure, we know Breslow's leading the charge, but it's like he doesn't know how he wants to do it his way, but I don't know if he knows his way.
Craig Breslow is so bad at pivoting. I think Breslow has this idea in his mind and his perfect plan. I think he had this plan. Joe Ryan was a Red Sox. Alex Bregman wasn't leaving, and he was going to go get his bat another way. And then he was going to trade for the pitcher with one of the outfielders. And nothing went right for him, and he didn't know how to pivot. He ended up giving the money to the pitcher, and he did nothing offensively. And realistically, if you think about his job after the end of the season last year, it was keep Alex Bregman, get one bat, and get a number 2 starter. And he really screwed it up. It wasn't that hard of a task.
Like, they only signed Suarez because they lost Bregman. It was 3
They only signed Suarez. So if Bregman signs with the Cubs, and let's say they don't panic move to that, look at this offseason. Caleb Durbin, Wilson Contreras, and that's it?
Yeah. Red Sox Stats also had a tweet today during the game. I thought it was really good when he said, people that wanted coaches fired in a pickle because they despised Driveline and how everything was managed, and now it's even more Driveline and everything looks the same except dropping Anthony into a less important slot in the order, today's late ad notwithstanding. So it's like, yeah, sure, people are calling for the coaches to be fired, and now it just gets worse in terms of like the process. Because is the Driveline process Breslow's process? I don't know. Like, Driveline has always been an organization, and I think, obviously more focused on pitching, but it's never been directed with a team and said, like, I don't know if people know what the Driveline way is, because it accumulates so much analytics that it's not one way or the other. So it's like, I don't really know if they have a way.
So when I was growing up playing baseball, Driveline became a thing kind of when I was in late high school, early college. Driveline was a training tool and aid to get stronger, faster, and that kind of thing. Driveline was not a that way or the highway type of philosophy. It was more of a training tool to make you to increase bat speed. It wasn't, you have to do this exact thing or you're not a good baseball player. It's gone too far to one side. It needs to go back to, this is something that baseball players go to once a week, twice a week as a training tool, not as your only way of getting better.
Yeah, and it's funny because by firing Fatsy, they just let Driveline more in the door. And not necessarily that firing Fatsy was the wrong move to shake things up, but it's like, all right, if you didn't want Driveline in here and that's why you wanted to fire Fatsy, you just got a whole lot more of it than if Fatsy was still here. Like that, that's just, it's the irony of the situation. But it just, the more I've been thinking about it this week, it's like, there are so many things that you can point to, letting Bregman, obviously we've talked about it, letting Bregman go, the big three, obviously Meyer still got to live up to the hype. Anthony still got to do a bit more. Campbell is sitting in Worcester, looking a lot better, but it's, not signing the bat, maybe not signing the right arm. Not that Suarez is bad, but just, it was a panic move. Clearly it's like they didn't do it. Every move that they made was reactionary. They were never proactive. They never act on the aggressive. And Andrew Friedman has always said, if you're rational in every free agent signing, then you'll finish in third, like in the standings and in the signing too. But the Red Sox want to win every signing, every trade they make. And if they keep operating like that, third will be a distant dream because they'll be in fourth or fifth place.
Blue Jays climbing back up. They're only 2 games under 500. George Springer is back today. I think this is their time to vault up the.
Savage looked awesome last night.
I think they're coming back. So it's now or never, and the Blue Jays are going in the opposite direction. The Red Sox are going back down.
And Tampa Bay doesn't lose.
Yeah, we haven't even seen them yet.
Yeah, next Thursday we'll see them for 4 at Fenway.
All right, guys.
Hold on. Do you see this comment in here? The last comment?
Yeah, I did. A little bit. Let's put it up. Sox sweep, average 8 runs per game. Meyer moves to the top 5 in the order against righties. Rafaela moves back. Story with at least 1 home run this weekend. I can see Marcelo Meyer batting 5th in the order against the righty if he keeps hitting like this. I can't see the Red Sox sweeping. I do think they have the pitching matchup that they should, on paper, at least win 2 out of 3, but they're not going to, in my mind. It's just, I don't know. The Astros suck at the moment, so you never know. But I just don't see it happening.
Rafaela moving back is the only thing that I agree with in this comment. I think that we'd be lucky if we see 8 runs hit by the Red Sox all series, let alone per game. Even with the awful pitching of Houston too. Let's just hope. But I could also see Mayer being moved to the 5th spot too. Again, please, let's see him against lefties. I'm just like praying for that. At least make it somewhat fun and somewhat interesting at some point, please. And Story with at least one homer. He's looked so lost at the plate, even after getting bumped down from the 2 spot too. I don't see that happening, unfortunately. I would love to see it though, especially in the greens on Friday night.
Yeah.
Guys, any final thoughts?
Season's
boy.
cooked without Crochet.
Yeah. We were looking forward to a Crochet start on Friday. Unfortunately, that's not something we're looking forward to now. But guys, thanks for watching another episode of Fenway Finale. This one will be live posted on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You can also find it on YouTube and Twitter.
I like this final comment because we said this last series and it's so true. Show Yordan Alvarez 4 fingers every single time. He said Yordan shouldn't see a single pitch in the zone this weekend. Give him the Bonds treatment. Let other guys try to beat you. Absolutely. Show him 4. And
that's a topic we brought up last time we played the Astros. I totally agree. Put him on first base. Don't let anyone else. Don't let him beat you. Let anyone else. Jeremy Pena's still hurt. They don't got much left on this team. This is the end of their kind of dynasty. So, yeah. There are ways to go out there and beat this team. And like Dam0013 said, a sweep could happen, but I just don't see it with how the Red Sox offense is played. So, yeah, like I was saying, this episode will be posted up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter at Fenway Finale. And thank you for watching, guys. See you soon.